The Battle of Tugela Heights consisted of a series of military actions lasting from the 14th of February through the 27th of February 1900, in which General Sir Redvers Buller's British Army forced Louis Botha's Boer Army to lift the Siege of Ladysmith during the Second Boer War. Background: Buller's army had made 3 earlier attempts to raise the Boer Siege of Ladysmith. The battles of Colenso, Spionkop and Valkrant each resulted in embarrassing British defeats at the hands of Botha's army of Boer irregulars. In 3 months, British casualties rose to 3,400 men, while Boer losses were much lower. On the 12th of February, Buller ordered a 4th attempt to relieve Ladysmith. He hoped to exploit his 10-to-1 superiority in artillery and 4-to-1 advantage in numbers. Geography: the direct route to Ladysmith lay along the railroad, which ran mostly north and south. The railroad crossed the Tugela River at Colenso, ran along the north bank of the river, snaked between Railway Hill and Peters Hill, and continued to Ladysmith. While the main defences were north of the river, the Boers also held a number of ridges south of the river and east of Colenso. The Tugela runs generally east to Colenso, but near the railroad bridge the river turns north, then northeast. Along the northeasterly stretch, the river and railroad are commanded by a series of hills which represented the Boer main line of defense. A 500 feet high ridge named Langwain rose northeast of Colenso on the south bank and overlooked the railroad. During the Battle of Colenso, a British attack on Langwain was repulsed. Since that time, the Boers had greatly strengthened the ridge. With Langwain in his possession, Buller could dominate the Boer positions at Colenso and safely cross there. To capture Langwain, Buller realized that he would first have to rout the Boers from all the positions south of the river. But even with the south bank in his possession, Buller would still have to fight through the Boer-held hills to the north on the river. Battle on the south bank. On the 12th of February, Lieutenant Colonel Julian Byng led a reconnaissance in force to Hussar Hill, a position southeast of Colenso. The position fell on the 14th of February to Colonel the Earl of Dundonald's Mounted Brigade, and 34 artillery pieces soon crowned Hussar Hill. With the support of the guns, Major General Neville Littleton's 4th Infantry Division struck to the northeast on the 15th of February. Singlo Hill, to the northeast of Hussar Hill, fell next, on the 18th of February. While hundreds of miles to the west, General Kitchener's army was fruitlessly attacking Piet Cronje's surrounded army. An event known as Bloody Sunday. Major General Henry J. T. Hildyard's 2nd Brigade captured the 1,000 feet height of Monte Cristo, and Major General Geoffrey Barton's 6th Brigade cleared Green Hill. The outflanked Boers abandoned Langwain and the south bank entirely on the 19th of February. Immediately, the British installed heavy artillery on the summit of Langwain. Battle on the north bank. Buller preferred to avoid the obvious route north along the railroad, but his intelligence officer informed him that an advance north across the river from Monte Cristo was impracticable. Therefore, the British were forced to find a way to overcome the main Boer positions. British infantry occupied Colenso on the 19th of February, and the railhead was advanced to Colenso Station. On the 21st of February, the pontoon bridge was positioned under the western brow of Langwain, and the army began to cross. Major General Arthur S. Wynn's 11th Brigade captured Boer positions at Horseshoe Hill in Wynn's Hill, 3 miles north of Colenso, on the evening of the 22nd of February. Major General Fitzroy Hart's 5th Brigade attacked the next high ground to the northeast, Hart's Hill, on the 23rd of February. Not waiting for all his battalions to arrive, Hart sent his troops up piecemeal, and they were repulsed with almost 500 casualties. 2 battalions of reinforcements arrived in time to prevent a rout. 2 colonels were among the dead, and the Royal Inniskilling Fusiliers lost 72 82% of their officers and 27% of the rank and file. During this engagement, Edgar Thomas Hinkson carried a young officer who was severely wounded and unable to walk for 300 or 400 yards, under very heavy fire, to a place of safety for which he was awarded the Victoria Cross. On the 25th of February, a 6-hour armistice was arranged to recover the British wounded on the upper slopes of Winds and Harts Hills. On one section of hillside, 80 dead and only 3 survivors were recovered. Buller began to look for another way to flank the Boers. It turned out that in front of the Boer positions, the Tugela entered a gorge. The pontoon bridge was moved north to the mouth of the gorge so British soldiers could cross and move to the northeast along the river bank, unseen by the Boers. Meanwhile, a trail was located by which the British artillery was moved into a supporting distance on the south bank. Lieutenant General Sir Charles Warren's 5th Infantry Division was directed to attack the Boer left flank. The brigades would strike from east to west, first at Peters Hill, then Railway Hill, and finally Harts Hill. Meanwhile, Littleton's division would threaten the Boer centre and right flank. For once Botha failed to anticipate Buller's moves. Barton's brigade attacked Peters Hill shortly after noon on the 27th of February, behind an early use of the creeping barrage by field artillery pieces as heavy as 4.7-inch naval guns. The 6th Brigade's advance was rapid at first. Then, about 1400, as the British infantry moved out of artillery observation and Botha reinforced his threatened flank, the attack stalled. The reserve was put in at 1430 and repulsed due to tough Boer resistance and enfilading fire from Railway Hill to the west. At 1500, Colonel Walter Kitchener's 5th Brigade attacked Railway Hill. After working the way slowly uphill, the soldiers carried the neck between Harts and Railway Hills in a brilliant bayonet charge, capturing 48 Boer prisoners. The last to move forward, Major General Norcart's 4th Brigade, began its assault on Harts Hill. The close artillery support proved decisive, as trench after trench was overwhelmed by direct fire. A final infantry charge cleared the crests, compelling a Boer retreat. As Botha's men fell back from the heights, the British infantry gave out a cheer. Aftermath. On the 28th of February, the besieged defenders of Ladysmith observed a great column of Boer horsemen and wagons moving rapidly north, just outside artillery range. Sometime after 5 p.m., 2 squadrons of British mounted infantry commanded by Major Hubert Gough from Buller's army rode into Ladysmith and ended the siege. Botha retreated to a new defensive line 60 miles to the north. Bibliography. Norris, Stephen Leslie. The South African War, 1899–1900, a military retrospect up to the relief of Ladysmith. John Murray. Available as The South African War, 1899–1900, a military retrospect up to the relief of Ladysmith on the Internet Archive. Wilkinson, Spencer. Lessons of the War, being comments from week to week, to the relief of Ladysmith. Constable. Available as Lessons of the War, being comments from week to week, to the relief of Ladysmith on the Internet Archive. Atkins, John Black. The Relief of Ladysmith. Methuen. Available as The Relief of Ladysmith on the Internet Archive. The Relief of Ladysmith, a poem by H.D. Rawnsley from Poems of South African History, AD 1497–1910 at the Wayback Machine.